right, first up on the show, we talk about a woman who's actually making a mark in the beauty industry. She started Sugar Cosmetics after failing at two businesses. So we want to understand her journey as well as a little bit more about the growth roadmap for Sugar. Vineeta Singh, co-founder and CEO, now joining in. Vineeta, thanks so much for taking time out. So you actually started this brand after doing a lot of research in the market. You started selling products online initially. Tell us a little bit more about the early days.
Okay, sure. So Sugar was born in 2015. It was a pivot from an e-commerce company that Kaushik and I were running, which was in beauty and personal care. What we started seeing was that young women were very different from their mothers. They were getting an opportunity to study, to work, and that's why the products that they needed were very different from what their mom needed in terms of products that were more suitable for Indian weather conditions, Indian skin tones, Indian skin texture. And that's how Sugar was born for young women. And we were very lucky because it was born around the same time as the entire geo explosion, and which is why the wave that we rode over the last 9 years has been the wave of internet penetration. And when Sugar started, there were in the e-commerce shoppers, only 10% were women. But as on date, there are 45% women as e-commerce shoppers. And luckily, e-commerce and social media, they democratized beauty because suddenly it wasn't about like the biggest brands getting picked up by consumers, but it was about the products that were getting viral, that were being recommended by influencers. So Sugar was at Sugar, we created products that work well for Indian women. And we reach out to them through social media, where on Instagram and YouTube, we have the largest and the fastest growing brand communities across categories. And we are now also an omni-channel brand and third largest cosmetics player in India.
Okay, and I bet not a lot of people know that you actually failed at two businesses that you tried to start. Give us a sense as to what that was like, and even Sugar Cosmetics was on the verge of actually shutting shop due to lack of funding at one point.
So I think in my own journey, I think I started up when I was 23. And I did not have any prior experience or business family background. And which is why, firstly, I made a lot of mistakes. Secondly, I think I always felt that people did not expect much from me, which meant that it was harder for me to get clients for whatever business I started and raise money. And when two businesses failed, I really started thinking about the fact that I started up after reading biographies of tons of entrepreneurs back in 2007, and all of them were men. And I started thinking that maybe my style of running a business is not suitable to becoming an entrepreneur, and maybe I made the wrong career choice. So I think I went through a lot of phases of failures, rejections. More than 100 venture capitalists rejected my first business idea, which was a women's lingerie brand in India. My second business idea, which was in a tech in the background verification industry, and the third one, which was the e-commerce company, which later pivoted to Sugar. And we had more than 100 venture capitalist rejections. And through all of those failures and rejections, I had a lot of self-doubt. But I really enjoyed the process of building businesses. And the startup ecosystem wasn't as vibrant back then. So the pool of capital that was available was very small. There were very few investors that were really marquee investors. And the amount of capital that went to businesses that were either led by women or addressed women as consumers was not even 1%. So I think there were like series of challenges at that time, but we persevered. And I'm very glad because I think in the last 4 or 5 years, things really started changing. When firstly Indian brands started emerging, and a lot of them were founded or co-founded by women. A lot of women, because they started shopping online, people start thinking about businesses that serve women as consumers. And I really still feel that, a lot of problems of women still need to be solved in terms of healthcare, in terms of fashion, beauty, e-commerce, and women are in the best position to solve those problems. And even till date, globally, less than 3% of the capital goes to women led companies. So I think we have a long way where there will be more capital that will go to women led companies. There'll be more organizations that serve women consumers and address the problems of women consumers. And eventually, when women start their companies, they hire more women. Like 70% of the workforce at Sugar is women. We have more than 3,000 women who work for us. So I think this will lead to a dramatic flywheel that can increase the participation of women in workforce in India, and B, really solve a lot of unaddressed problems of women of India.
And given that, Vineeta, we've seen this radical shift, the Indian BPC market, when it comes to consumer demand, has seen a huge shift. It's a very crowded market as well. How do you plan to make a mark and sustain?
Sure. So we're already the third largest color cosmetics brand, and a couple of years back, we've also made our foray into skincare as a category with a brand called Quench, which is already doing a revenue run rate of about 70 crores ARR. And the idea is for us to use our communities, which is the largest community that exists for a brand, to continue to educate, build awareness, because we feel that while there are a lot of brands that women have access to, there's still a struggle to get products and the confidence to wear those products. And women are looking for brands that they can trust, and both Sugar and Quench have very high repeat percentages in terms of consumers coming back and trying us. We do have a lot of stores that we're now available in. So we're available in more than 40,000 doors across the country. And we feel that given the fact that the category is growing at double digits, and that our D2C community, which is where we directly serve consumers, gives us the ability to every month hear from tens of thousands of women of how their preferences are evolving, and our speed of execution gives us the right to continue to improve our ranking within the market and improve our market share. And we do aspire to become India's #1 color cosmetics brand with Sugar, and build a 500 crore business with Quench.
And you also turned profitable in December last year. What's the trajectory that you have when it comes to your bottom line growth? What are you working with when it comes to revenue projections?
Sure. So we were profitable in December. That was our first profitable month after a while. We had our first profitable quarter, which was Q4 of FY24. And FY25 is going to be the first year after about 5-6 years that we're going to be profitable at an annual level. So in FY25, we do aspire to grow about 40%. Last year, our growth was about 30% over the previous year. And this would bring us closer to the 1,000 crore net revenue mark, which is what we aspire to do by the time we go for a public listing, which will be in another couple of years.
All right, and if we were to talk a little bit more about financials, you've improved your EBITDA margin profile quite considerably in FY23. What is the outlook on margins?
So FY25, we're looking at an EBITDA positive P&L. Whether it is 3-4% or 5%, it is very hard to right now put a number to it.
And finally, what's the vision then for Sugar? Where do you see the company headed over the next 3 to 5 years?
Sure. So as I mentioned, Sugar aspires to be India's largest color cosmetics brand, and a cult favorite one at that. And which is why we expect Sugar to continue to grow about 30 to 40% year on year over the next 5 to 7 years, and with improving the profitability as well on an annual basis by about 100 basis points every year. And we feel that's possible because we're in the midst of a very exciting journey where a lot of 90% of India is inspired digitally when they're making their beauty purchases, whether they happen online or offline, the inspiration happens online. And we feel that given the fact that we have like the content and community to influence those decisions, as well as the community that helps us understand where young India is moving towards, we will have the edge to continue growing. And even as a category, if you look at color cosmetics, we're still about 1/6 of the per capita consumption of a Southeast Asia or a US. And we do feel that because younger India shops way more, almost 2 to 3 times more color cosmetics, we do feel that even at a category level, color cosmetics will double over the next 5 to 6 years, and sugar will get a chance to ride both the waves of the category growing, as well as internet penetration growing.
Thanks for that.